Yesterday we have discussed about expression language. Okay, and today we will discuss JSTL. Okay, JSP Standard Tag Library. JSP Standard Tag Library. Okay, and generally we use some expression language concepts to discuss this. Okay, now JSP Standard Tag Library, as it tells that as it excuse me. Okay, as it is named JSP Standard Tag Library. Okay, it tells that it is a tag library. It is a library of custom tags developed. Okay, it is a library of pre-developed custom tags. Okay, for many of our regular business requirements. Okay, JSTL has tags. Okay, JSTL has a list of tags for each and every business requirement. Okay, for each and every business requirement, this JSTL has a list of tags. JSTL has a list of tags for each and every business requirement. Okay? For each and every basic business requirements, like if you want to write some if condition, if you want to write some for condition or for loop, or if you want to catch an exception, if you want to format something, date to string or string to date, number to currency or currency to number, like that. For every basic operations, we have a tag in JSTL. Okay? And these JSTL tags, they are categorized into 4. Core tags, formatting tags, core tags, formatting tags, SQL tags, and XML tags. JSTL tags are categorized into 4. Core tags, formatting tags, SQL tags, as well as XML tags. The core tags, okay, core tags are used to implement core business requirements, like core logic, core implementations like if, while, for, okay, catch, like this. Okay, some core business requirements, okay, will be achieved through core tags, like writing a if condition in a JSP page, or writing a if else condition, or writing a for loop on a JSP page. Okay, these core business conditions can be achieved through core formatting tags. Okay, SQL and XML formatting, SQL and XML JSTL tags are very less used. Mostly used JSTL tags are core tags and formatting tags. We have already discussed one of the core tags, which is (out), which is used to print the content of an object, or which is used to print the content of an attribute on the browser. Okay. Now, already we have seen (out), which is used to print the content of an attribute on the browser. Okay, (out) is used to print content of an attribute. The attribute can be in any scope. Okay, if you want to print the content of an attribute in any scope, okay, just we'll go for core. The core library out tag. Okay, then how we can integrate this JSTL to our JSP page means just import the tag library of the JSTL. Okay, so the first step of integration of JSTL is, already we have discussed this yesterday. Okay, add these 2 jar files, standard.jar and JSTL.jar in the lib folder. Already we have discussed this yesterday. Just let me repeat it. The first step of integration of JSTL to JSP page is add these 2 jar files, standard.jar and JSTL.jar to lib folder. Okay, that's the first step. And the second step of integration of JSTL to JSP pages. Add the specific tag library or import the specific tag library, okay, using taglib directive. Now I have imported the core tag library using a specific URL. Likewise, for formatting there will be specific URL. For SQL there will be another URL. For XML there will be another URL. Okay, like import the specific tag library using the taglib directive with a prefix. And for core tag library, this is the URL. Okay, http://java.sun.com/jsl/core. And we can give any prefix, but most probably the prefix that we give for core tags is C. Okay, so first add those two jar files, standard.jar and jstl.jar in the lib. Import the specific tag library. Okay, if it is core, then give the specific URL, and the prefix should be C. Now all the tags that exist in core of JSTL will be imported to this JSP page. All the tags that exist in core library will be available to this JSP page. What is the tag that we are going to use means? We can use any tag, okay, in this JSP page, out or any other tag. The first tag in JSTL that we are going to discuss is, the first core tag is out, which is used to, okay, print the content of a specific attribute on the browser. The attribute can be in any scope, like it can be in what we call page scope or request scope or session scope or any scope. Attribute of any scope can be printed in the browser using SQL out. What SQL out will do means, just it will make use of some expression language, and using expression language we can print the content of an object on the browser. Understand? So now what I am doing, I am printing person.address equal. I am using expression language, and the output of expression language is printed on the browser. Okay? Understood? So that's what SQL out will do. We have seen SQL out several times, what it will do. And the next tag in JSTL that we are going to discuss is set. Let me remove all this stuff. Let me make use of SQL and set. Yes, some attributes were equal to country, value equal to India. Okay, where equal to country and value equal to India. Now, if we have why we use SQL and set means, okay, to set attributes in a specific scope. SQL and set will be used to set attributes in a specific scope. Now, the default scope is page. If you don't specify any scope to SQL and set, the default scope is page. Now, what I'll do is, let me access page context dot get attribute of country. Okay, now I am setting a var with the name country and value India. Now in from page context I am getting the attribute country. So let me run this JSP page. So India is printed. So now if I set some var using SQL and set, that, okay, a attribute will be created. An attribute will be created in a specific scope with a specific value. Understood? An attribute will be created within a specific scope with that value. Now, an attribute is created in a page scope with the name country and value as India. just because the default scope is page. Now, let me give the scope. Request. Now, let me access request dot get attribute of country. Okay. So now we are setting an attribute in the request scope with the name country and with the value India. Understood? Understood? So same India is printed. Understood? So using C:\set, we are setting attributes to specific scope. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't use set, what we need to do? We should write a scriptlet where we need to write like this. Request dot set attribute, name of the attribute, test, value of the attribute. Like this we need to set using a scriptlet. But which one is a simple way? Either using C:\set or using a scriptlet. Using C:\set we can directly, we can easily set the values to a specific scope, or we can set the attribute to a specific scope very easily. Okay. In many of the scenarios, C:\set will be used in the page scope in many of the scenarios, but we cannot restrict C:\set to set the attribute only in the page scope. We can set attribute in any scope using C:\set. Okay, we can set the attribute in any scope using C:\set, but in many of the scenarios, C:\set is used to set the attribute in the page scope so that we can track some value. Okay, understood? So let's consider like first value of I is 0. At 20th line value of I is 10. At 30th line value of I is 20. So how can you track the value of I means? Just we set a variable specific to that page using C:\set. Understood? Understood? So that's how C:\set will be used. C:\set will internally set the attribute to a specific scope. And the default scope of C:\set is page. Okay? So now now, what is the value printed here? Will it print blank or India? What is the value printed here? Will it print in this 18th line? What is the value printed? Will it print blank or India? Null or blank or India? Null. Why it will print null? The scope of country is request scope. Sorry, page scope. But we are trying to get it from request scope. Now, let me give the scope as request. Now, will it print blank or will it print null or will it print India? Will it print null or India? Null or India? India. Just because the specific scope attribute will be available. So now we are adding str as attribute to page context. So it will be there in the page scope. Now, if you use the expression language, by default it will search for attribute in the page scope. Now, do we have attribute with the name str in the page scope? Yes. And the value is India. And that value will be added, set as attribute to the request scope with the name country and with the value India. Okay. Like this, we can access the values. Okay. We can set attributes to specific scopes very easily using SQL and set. Okay. Using SQL and set, we can set values to specific scopes. Let me try to execute this. I'll explain this later on. We can set some values to use bins using SQL and set. Okay. In the target we should specify the use bin, and in the property we should specify the ID. So to person bin we can set the ID value to 100. To person bin we can set the name value to Ravi. Okay, this is not working for some reason. I'll explain you later on. But we can set some values to use bins using SQL and set. Okay, and SQL and set we should give the target as use bin ID and the property as the property name and the value of the property. Use bin ID, property name, and value of the property. Using this syntax, we can set some values to use bins. Okay, let me discuss this later on. Somehow, for some reason, it is not working. But we can use SQL and set. Okay, using SQL and set, we can set some values to a property of a target use bin. It's possible. Okay, but somehow it is not working. I'll explain it in the next class. Okay, and this is how SQL and set can be used to set up some attributes or to set some variables. Okay, within a specific scope. Understood? Now, the next is writing some condition, which is let me revert back the code. Okay, now I have set a value, a variable with the name country and value something else. Now, okay, now after SQL and set, the next tag is SQL and remove. Scope equal to request. Now okay, before removing, the value is something. Okay, and after removing, value is something else. Okay, so now SQL and remove, SQL and set will be used to set an attribute. SQL and remove will be used to remove an attribute from a specific scope. Okay, now first we have set the country value. Sorry, we have set the attribute with the name country with the value India in the request scope, and we are removing that, and then after removing we are printing. Before as well as after removing we are printing the value. Understood? So we try to execute this. So before removing the value is India, and after removing the value is null. This is because the value is null. Understood? Now what is the value printed before and after? What are the values printed before and after? both will print Pakistan. Just because if you use SQL set, the value is country, first it will search for that attribute in the request scope. In the request scope, do we have any attribute country? Yes. We have set that attribute country with the value Pakistan. If you use SQL set to set an attribute, okay, what is the default scope? Page scope. So first it will search in the page scope, and the page scope value is Pakistan. So it will give the value Pakistan just because there is here at this point of time, both in the request scope as well as page scope we have attribute country, but expression language will prefer the page scope. Okay, then we are removing the country value in the request scope. Again here that value exists in the page scope. Now what is the value in before and what is the value after? Pakistan and India. Just because first it will prefer the value in the page scope. So the page scope, the country value is Pakistan, and we have removed an attribute. If you execute remove of the code tags, it will remove the attribute from the page scope. We did not specify any scope here, so by default it will remove from the page scope. Now at this point of time, there is attribute country in the request scope. So first it will try to fetch it from the page scope. Now in the page scope it is removed, so it will try to fetch it from the request scope. So in the request scope there is a attribute country which is added because of the first set with the value India. So the value India will be printed after. But why? I think if you don't specify the scope, it will remove from all the scopes. Let me see. Okay, let me add the request scope. So that means that you don't specify any scope. You don't specify any scope, SQL and remove will remove the attribute from all the scopes. Okay. Now if we specify page scope, let me see. If we specify page scope and access this. Now it is giving the value. So make a correction. If you don't specify any scope for SQL and remove, it will remove the attribute from all the scopes. Okay. If you don't specify any scope for SQL and remove, then attributes from all the scopes will be removed. So now we have attribute with the name country in request scope as well as page scope. So if you don't specify any scope in SQL and remove, attributes from all the scopes will be removed. It might be in request scope or session scope or application or page. So if I replace this, India is not printed just because we are directly executing SQL and remove, which will remove attributes from all the scopes, which will remove the attribute country from all the scopes. So the attribute added because of the 17th statement will be removed, as well as the attribute added because of 18th statement also will be removed. Okay. So while removing, we should specify a scope. We specify a scope like page. Then what is the value printed here? Before and after? What is the value printed before and after? Let me increase the font size. Now, what is the value printed in before and after? Before Pakistan, just because the country value is Pakistan in the page scope. By default, expression language will take it from the page scope. Now, in the 20th statement, there are two attributes with the name country. One attribute is there in the page scope with the value Pakistan. One attribute is there in the request scope with the value India. Now, will this remove statement? Will this remove from both the scopes, or will it remove only from the page scope? Page scope. Now, will it take from the request scope? Will this statement, 21st statement, take the country attribute from the request scope? Yes. Just because first the page scope attribute is removed, this is removed. Okay? So, a request scope attribute with the same name country exists. So, country will be fetched now from the request scope. Understood? So, refresh, India is printed. Understood? Like that, C::remove will remove the attributes from all the scopes if we don't specify any scope. If we specify any scope, then only that scope attribute will be removed. Only that specific scope attribute will be removed. Understand? Good point. Even I don't know that. And the next tag is equivalent catch. Now I have enclosed some content of JSP in a catch block. Okay, and let me print. Value equal to my exception. Understood what I have done? I have written C::catch with some variable my exception, and I have written some content in the C::catch. I have enclosed the content of JSP page in C::catch. Okay, and I am printing an exception. Understood? So, if I refresh the page, is it giving any error message? It's not displaying any error message in the browser, but we are catching the exception that has been raised in this portion. Whatever the enclosed area it is, okay, the exception present in this enclosed area will be caught automatically. Okay, the exception present in this enclosed area will be caught automatically, and the exception message will be printed in, will be stored in where. Understood? Understood? So, whatever the exception that is raised in this enclosed content, okay, or in this enclosed area in C::catch, whatever the exception that is raised in this C::catch, in the body of C::catch, that exception will be automatically cut, and that exception message will be there in the where. So, we can print where later on. Understood? We can catch exceptions very easily using C::catch. Okay. Now, if you don't use C::catch, then what happens? It will be displayed like this. But the user cannot understand this. Okay? User cannot understand this. Okay? So, what we do is, we will catch that exception and we will print the exception message to the user. Understood? C::catch will catch any exception that exists in the body of that C::catch. It will catch any exception that exists in this body. Okay, and that exception message will be there in the where. So we can print where later on if you want. Understood? Understood? So exceptions can be handled in JSP page very easily using C::catch, using JSP. We have to write it in types like try and catch. That kind of syntax is not required. Just we go for C::catch. That's it. Okay? And the next tag in core is okay. Now, right now we have seen out tag, set, remove, catch. Uh-huh. If you want to give exception message, then in general what we do is we go for user defined exceptions, right? We give user defined exceptions. So when that user defined exception is raised, okay, what we do, we'll go override the toString method of that user defined exception class. If we override the toString method, we can give a specific message, right? It will print the object of the user defined exception. But here it is printing Java.lang and open exception. But we can print anything. Okay, like this message is something like that. Okay, the bank account number is invalid. We can override the toString method and we can print any message that we require. Okay. And the next tag in core tags, core JSL tags is if. Okay. C::if. C::if will execute the body of C::if. The body of C::if will be executed only if the test is the test is true. Only when the test is true, okay, the body of C::if will be executed. Body of C::if will be executed only if the test is true. The value of attribute test is true. Only when the value of attribute test is true, only then C::if body will be executed. Now, let me print hi inside. Okay. Now, the value of test is true. So, it is printed hi inside if. Okay. Okay. So, if the value is other than true, the value of C::if test attribute is other than true, then that if condition, the body of if will not be executed. Okay, and this if can be case insensitive. It can be in uppercase or lowercase or both. Okay. Now, is it case sensitive or case insensitive? Case insensitive. Case sensitive means uppercase and lowercase are considered to be different. Case insensitive means uppercase and lowercase are ignored. Both will be considered the same. Okay, now even if you do TRUE, whatever it might be, if the value is TRUE, then we will execute the prompt. The value is other than TRUE, either false or X or Y or Z or 10, whatever the value is, other than true, it will be false. C::if will consider the content as false if the spelling is not TRUE. Okay, now if I give, now will it execute the if, the body of if? No. The content should be exactly TRUE. If it is other than TRUE, then it will print. It will not execute the body. Understood? So, now, let me write this. already we have discussed EL, right? Now, will print if or else? Sorry. Will it print the content inside the body of if? Will it print the content in the body of if? Will it print the content in the 20th line? That is the body of it. No? Now we have set attribute country in the request scope with the value STR, and the STR value is India. So there is attribute with the name country with the value India in request scope, and then we are setting an attribute in the page scope with the value Pakistan, and we are removing the attribute from the page scope. But here first we will search for an attribute in the page scope. It doesn't exist. It will try to find attribute in the request scope. In request scope, attribute country is 4. Now, what is the value of attribute country in the request scope? India. So, this will not be exit. Understand? Okay. Now, if I execute like this, now we'll come to if. Will it execute the 23rd statement? Yes or no? What are we? Will it execute the 23rd statement? Yes? Sure? Just because now we are searching in the page scope. We have added an attribute with the country name, country and value Pakistan in the page scope, and we are removing it from the page scope. Okay? Now page scope of country doesn't exist, so it is empty. So it will come to if. So it's coming in. Like that we can check some if condition using semicolon if. Okay? If JSTL tag. If JSTL tag will be used to check some condition. If JSTL tag will have an attribute test, the value of attribute test is true, TRUE, then the body will be executed. Otherwise, the body will not be executed. Understood? Now, let's consider like if the country is India, if the country is India, let me not remove. Let me consider that if the country is India, or the country is India, then let me input, let me send, let me enter some value. Please enter Aadhaar number. Okay, so type put text name equal to so if the country is India, then only this field will be appear. Otherwise, this field will not be appear. So this field will be appeared only if the country is India. Now let me develop this application for Pakistan. Now will it be displayed? It will not be displayed. Understood? So based on the condition, we can enable or disable some HTML components very easily using SQL view. Understood? We can enable or disable some HTML components. Okay? Or we can show or hide any HTML component very easily using SQL view. By the condition, enclose that HTML component inside SQL view. If the condition is passed, then only the code will be executed. The condition is if the condition is true, then only code will be executed. If the condition is false, code will not be executed. Understood? And the next thing. Okay, now we have written some if condition. Now how this if condition means? If I equal to 10, then write something. Okay, but SQL and if will provide this kind of logic only if. But if you want to provide some kind of logic like if, okay, marks is less than 35, then else if marks is less than 60, pass in second case. Else if marks less than 75, pass in first class. Else, and finally, pass in distinction. If you want to write some if-else kind of logic, we cannot achieve that through SQL and if. SQL and if can be used only to write one condition. But if you want to write multiple conditions, or if you want to write a if-else kind of logic, we cannot achieve that through SQL and if. Okay? If you want to achieve some if-else conditions, or if you want to achieve some if-else logic, or if you want to write some if-else logic on a JSP page, we cannot write that through SQL and if. Okay? If-else logic on JSP page using JSTL can be written through a series of tags. Okay? Let's see. Let me give okay. So now let me give the marks value as 47. Now let me check this condition. If the mark, let me apply the same condition. Let me implement the same condition on the JSP page. Okay? Let me implement the same condition on the JSP page. If marks is less than 35, else if. Marks is less than 60, else if. Marks is less than 75, else. Okay? If you want to achieve this if-else conditions on a JSP page using JSTL, we should have a series of tags. That series of tags include C:, choose the root tag of if else, and if condition can be written in C:, when. Test, we'll write a test in expression language. Marks is less than 35. If marks is not, we should not give this less than, we should use LT. If marks is less than 35, then okay. And if you want to write another condition, what is the next condition? The next condition is marks is less than 60, then pass in second class. Then if you want to write another condition, we should write another way. Less than 75, pass, but in first class. If all these are false, then the default value is distinction. So, if the marks are 35, we will go to if. If marks are 47, we will go to the second if. So the marks are less than 35 is false. So marks less than 60 is true. So we will go to the second if. Now marks are 67. Where it will go? Will it go to the first if? No. Will it go to the second if? No. It will go to the third if. Now, is there any case where all these ifs are executed? No. Only one if will be executed. Now, if these three conditions are false, let's consider like the marks are 78. Now, first condition will be false, second condition will be false, third condition will be false. Then the default is distinction. So, this default else, the last else, can be represented through otherwise. Okay? Distinction. Understood? So, now the marks are 47. So, let me pass what in second class. Just because marks are 47, I will come to the second. Okay. Now, is there any case where two whens are executed? Is there any case where two whens are executed? Yes or no? Let's consider that marks are, the value of marks is 67. The value of marks is 67. Now, or let's consider like the marks of value of marks is 44. Now, will it execute both the second when and third when? The value of marks is 44. Is this condition true? Yes or no? Yes. Marks 44 less than 60. It is true. Then will come here. Now the marks less than 75. Is it true? Yes, it is true. But once the control comes to when or any otherwise, the control will, after executing the body of when or otherwise, the control will directly reach the end of choose. Once the body of either when or otherwise, once the body of whether when or otherwise is executed, okay, then the control will be directly transferred to end of choose. So there is no case where both when and otherwise or multiple whens are executed. That case is not possible. Understood? There is no case where both whens or a when and otherwise both are executed. Only one of the whens or otherwise should be executed. Once the control comes to the body of when or otherwise, then the control will be, after executing the body of when or otherwise, the control will be directly switched to the end of choose. Understood? It will be like that. Okay? Understood? So, now we have seen if else. Now let me discuss for. Okay? A for loop. How we can implement a for loop on a JSP page using JSTL. Let me try to implement the for loop. Okay? If you want to implement for loop, okay, there is a tag named for each. Okay? For each items equal to items. Now let me try to develop a array. We can iterate either an array or a list, or we can iterate either an array or a collection using for each. First let me try to iterate an array. Okay? Now like this we can define an array with values. So we have defined an array states with 4 values. Okay? AP, K, Tn and Kn. Now let me add this array to a specific scope. Let me add this to page scope. Page context dot set attribute states and the value is the array states. Okay? Now states exists as a attribute in the page context, in the page scope. Now the items contains for each tag is used, for each of the core will be used like a for loop on the JSP page to iterate a list or collection of objects on the JSP page. Now the items attribute will take, okay, a list or collection that we want to iterate. A collection or an array that we want to iterate. Now we have an array which is states. Now we are trying to iterate a array. Now how we will write a for loop? In general, how we will write a for loop? For states. Okay? We will bring the state. Now this is the state, this is the array that we want to iterate, and for each and every iteration the value will be stored in this local temporary variable. Now in the first iteration str value will be AP. In second iteration str value will be KA. The third iteration str value will be TL. In the fourth iteration the str value will be K. Understood? So that it will be a temporary variable which stores the value of the specific element in the iteration. Understood? So now for that purpose we have attribute named where. Where is used to, where is it a temporary variable, or we can call it as a iteration variable. Where is the iteration variable like str? Now str is an iteration variable. The first iteration str value will be ap, second ka, third tn, and fourth ka. Like this, even where will be a iteration variable. Understand? So I'm printing the value of obj. Understood what I have done? I'm iterating the for loop and I'm printing the value in each and every position. Understood? So let me execute this. So ap, ka, tn, and kl are printed. Understood? So we can iterate a collection or an array very easily using for each. Now, okay, in for each, if you use for each, by default all the elements will be iterated, but we can specify the positions to for each, like from this index to this index we need to execute. Now let me give from index and to index using begin and end, using begin and end. So beginning from 0th index, ending to 3rd index. Let me give begin is 0 and end is 2. Okay, so we can iterate a specific number of elements in a list or in a collection or an array. Okay, we can iterate only a specific number of elements, a range of elements. We can iterate a range of elements from the whole array or from the whole collection using begin and end. Understood? So we try to execute it. APKA TN. Starting from 0th index to 2nd index. 0th index, 1st index, and 2nd index elements will be. Here, how many elements are there in the array? 4 elements. So, if the array has 4 elements, the position starts from 1. First position, second position, third position, fourth position. But the index starts from 0. 0th index, first index, second index, third index. Now, can we tell that index is equal to position minus 1? Can we tell that index is equal to position minus 1? What, Babu? Can we tell index equal to position minus 1? Can we tell that index equal to position minus 1? Can we tell that index equal to position minus 1? See, let's consider this element. What is the position? 3. What is the index? Is index 3 for Tn? 2. Now, in position is 3, index is 2. Now, can we tell index is equal to position minus 1? Index, can we tell that index equal to position minus 1? I am asking a question, can we tell index equal to position minus 1? We will discuss later on. Okay. Now index equal to position minus 1, just because position is here 3 and index is 2. Now let me define step equal to. Let me define step equal to 2. Okay. Now let me see what it will do. What is doing? It is printing AP and TN. AP is there in the first position, TN is there in the third position. That means it will step directly to the next element. Let me consider that we have several states. So first this will be executed and directly it will go to the next step. What is the step value? 2. So it will go directly here. And from here it will jump to the next value directly to UP. From here it will jump directly to the next 2 steps. Understood? Okay, now if I give the step value as 3, what are the values printed? If I give the step value as 3, what are the values printed? AP, KL, HR. Understood? So first it will execute AP, then directly it will directly switch to the next or it will directly step 3 indexes or it will directly move to 3 indexes. So from here 1, 2, 3. So it will directly go for K. From here again it will go to the next step. Next step will be after 3 elements. So 1, 2, 3. Understood? Now what is the values? What are the values printed? KA, UP. Understood, Babu? Why KA and UP? Huh? Begin is 1. So now the iteration will begin from this index KA. So from KA directly it will execute KA and it will directly step to the next 3 positions. So directly it will go to first, second, third. Okay, and directly it will go to the next position, but that doesn't exist. So it will print KA and UP. Understood? Okay, this is how the execution will be done using College. But this many number of facilities are not there with the normal for loop. We can implement that with normal for loop, but we need to write some complex logic. But that can be achieved very simply using SQL College. Understood? So if somebody asks like print only even rows, okay? Print only even rows. How will do? Can I achieve like this? Can I achieve the even rows like this? Now, by using step equal to 1 and begin equal to 1. Now, what are the even rows here? Now, this is the first position, second position, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Now, even rows are KA, second position, KL, fourth position, and PB, sixth position. Okay. Now, where it will begin? It will begin at KA, and it will skip one element and directly go to KA. We will skip another element and directly go to. Now, by doing this, we are printing only even rows. Oh, sorry. The step should be 2. Now, first it will print KA and will go to the second position. Okay? So, KA, KL, and PB. So, it will print the elements in the specific positions. Now 2, 4, 6. These are even positions. Understood? How we can achieve this only even or only odd very easily? So first it will come to KA and it will directly step into the next second element. The next second element is, this is the first and this is the second, KA. Understand? Step will switch to the next position. Okay, it is to the next second position. So from here, first this is the first position and this is the second position. Understand? Really? Are you confident on that? And let me create a table structure. Okay? Let me create a table structure like this. Let me consider that person has, okay, ID, name, age. Person has ID, name and age. Okay? And for the first person, ID value is 100, name is Ravi, age is 27, 200. Like this we have some values. Okay. Now I want to print this in a table format. So now let's consider this is the first person object, second person object, third person object, fourth person object. Now let's consider like I have list of person objects. If I have a list of person objects, can I iterate the person objects using C::colon for each? If we have a list of person objects, can we iterate a list of person objects using C::colon for each? Yes, we can iterate any collection or any array using C::colon for each. Now, let me have list of person objects. Now, let me have a person. Let me modify the person so that it contains ID, name, age. Okay. And let me add a constructor. Let me remove this address, not required at present. Now, person has ID, name and age. Now, let me create two constructors. One augmented constructor whenever we write an augmented constructor, it is better to write even an augmented constructor. Okay? Understood? So, now let me create some person objects and add them to the list. Okay? Using the person constructor. Now, in the JSP page, let me add some person objects. Let me create a list. try to import these two. Array list as well as list. So both list as well as array list are imported. So let me add some person objects to the list. Like this I have added 4 elements to the list, and let me add this list to the page context so that it will be available in the page scope in the JSP page. Set attribute persons, comma. So now persons is a list available as an attribute in the page context. Now, if I want to iterate these persons, let me iterate all the elements. Let me iterate all the elements. Now, okay. Now I want to display the person information in a table format, which contains rows and columns. Okay. We want to develop a table in a JSP page. Now, let's consider like there are 4 persons. There are 4 persons. Okay, how many times this for each will be executed? How many times for each will be executed? 4 times. Now, let's consider like the table syntax is this. In a table, we have the head, where we write the header. Okay, where is tr, in tr we write multiple headers, th. This is the first header. Second header, like that. Okay, and in the body, you write the body. Okay, and in the body, we'll write PR. Is the first column value and second column value. Okay, now this is my. Now here we may have any number of rows, 10 rows or 20 rows or 1000 rows. Now if there are 1000 rows, how many times we will create the table? If there are 1000 rows, how many times we create the table? Only once. We will create the table object only once, even there are 1000 rows or 10,000 rows. How many times we will create the header? Like this is the header. How many times we will create the header? There are 1000 rows? Only once. We should not tell one time, once. We will create the header only once. Even there are 1000 rows, the header will be declared only once. Okay, this is the highlighted portion is the header. Okay, now how many times we will declare the body? Now this is the body. The highlighted portion is the body. For a table, how many times we declare the body? We'll declare the body only once. Okay? And in that body, how many times we will declare the row? The row depends upon the number of rows that exist in the table. There are 1000 rows, 1000 times the TR object should be used. Understood? So, now can we write this table tag in the for each? Can we write this table HTML tag in for each? No. Can we write TH in for each? Can we write T-body in for each? Should we write TR in for each? Yes. TR only TR should be written in for each. The remaining content should be outside for each. Understood? So, now in for each, first before for each, let me declare the table and let me write the table structure first. In table, write the head, TR, we'll write the TH, first is ID. The second header is name. The third header is okay. Now we'll start the T-body. In body, okay, we should write the formula. Inside T-body, we should write the TR tags, right? So, each and every TR is a row, and each and every row contains a person information, a person object information. So, now, we'll write C:, for each, okay, items equal to, what are the items that we are going to display? This is the list of persons which is represented as persons attribute. Okay, and where is the temporary loop variable is obj. Just consider like anything, it's obj. Okay, please give me a second. we have obj, which is used as a loop iteration variable, and now we should create a tr. Okay, now if there are 4 rows, 4 tr should be there, because tr represents the row, and will represent the column data. Okay. Expression language in person object. Okay, in person object will fetch the value of id using the expression language. Okay, first is id. Name. Understood what we have done? Now let me give some border. So the table will be displayed with borders. Okay. Now let me try to refresh this page. So ID, name and age are displayed in the table format. Okay. This is how we can achieve a table content, or we can develop a table content very easily using for each step. Now let me write a condition, like if the row is even, it will have one background color. If the row is odd, it will have another background color. Understood the requirement? If the row is even row, then it should have one background color. If the row is odd row, it should have another background color. Now, how we can find whether it is an even row or an odd row? Now, if we have the number of the row, is it the first row or second row or third row or fourth row? If we have the row number, then we can find what is the index or what is the if we have the number of the row, or if we have the position of the row, we can determine very easily whether it is a even row or a odd row. And how we can find the position of the row? If you want to get the position or index of a row, we have another attribute, var status. Okay. This var status, okay, will contain some metadata about the row. Metadata means additional information about the row. What is the index of the row? What is the position of the row? That kind of additional information about the row will be there with the var status. Understood? The var status contains some additional information about the row that we are iterating. Let's consider we are iterating the first row. Then the var status contains the position as well as index of the first row. Understood? So, now let me write some condition. Then let me print the row index also. Okay. Let me print the row index. Serial number. Let me print the row number. Like serial number. Okay. Now how we can print the row number? Just we go for status what is that? I really forgot that. Count. Status dot count will give you the row number or the position of the row. If this is the first row, the position will be 1. Second row, position or count will be 2. Okay. So I am printing the serial number. and the values. So now serial number will be 1, 2, 3. So status.count will give you the position or the number of. Now what I will do is I will write the condition. Choose percentage 2 will give the remainder. See, 1% 2 will be 1. Okay? 2% 2 will be 0. 3% 2 will be 1. 4% 2 will be 0. It will give the remainder. Okay? So, then if the remainder is 0, will it be a even row or a odd row? If the remainder is 0, will it be a even row or a odd row? If the remainder is 0, then will it become a even row or a odd row? Even row. Okay? If the remainder is 0, then it is a even row. If the remainder is not 0, then it is a odd row. Let me develop the odd row. For even row, let me give background color. Let me give style background color as green. For even rows, I am giving the background color as green, and for odd rows, I am giving the background color as red. Okay, let me give violet so that it will be better visible. Okay, now if it is a odd row, let's consider it is a first row. If it is the first row, will it come to when or will it come to otherwise? If it is the first row, will it come to when or otherwise? Otherwise, just because for the first row status count will be 1. 1% 0 will not be equal to 0, so it will come to otherwise. So the first row background color is violet. Let's consider it is the second row in the second list. For the second row, the count will be 2. 2% 2 will be 0. So for the second row, the background color is green. For the third row again, 3% 2 will be 1, which is not equal to 0. So it will come to otherwise. So the value color will be violet. So alternatively, violet green, and violet green. Understood? So alternatively, violet green, violet and green. Okay? And we can achieve the same using index also. Now, what is the background color of even row? What is the background color of even row? Status.index, now it will give the index, not the position. Status.count will give the position. Status.index will give the index. For the first row, index will be 0. For the second row, index will be 1. Understood? First row index will be 0. Now, for odd rows, for odd positions, what is the color? What is the color for odd positions? Green. Just because, let's consider like it is the first row. First row is odd position. 1 is odd. So, the first row is odd, but the index will be 0. The first row index will be 0. 0% is 2 equal to 0 will be 2. So, it will come to green. Now let me come to the second row. Second row index will be 1. 1 percentage 2 will it be 0? No. So it will come to otherwise. Let's come to the third row. Third row index will be 2. 2 percentage 2 equal to 0 is 2. So it will come to. Understood? What's your answer? Got it? So it will come in the reverse way. Green, violet, green and violet. Understood? Understood? What? Babu? Understood? What's your got it? So we can make use of status.index or status.count. Status.count to access the position, status.index to access the index of a specific row. Understood? Okay. Like this, we can make use of the core tags of JSTL. Okay. And let's take some break. Okay. After the break, we'll assemble, and then others, if you are okay, then I will continue. It will take 1 more hour. Is it okay for you to continue? Is it okay for you to continue for 1 more hour? What's your? We'll complete the JSTL completely. Okay. So now the next type of tags is formatting tag. These are the important core tags. There are several other core tags. Okay. There are several other core tags. Like if you go for SQL and something in Eclipse, it will give several core tags. Okay. Import, if token, sketch. But these are not that much important. Okay. These are not that much important. Okay. But these will have a specific advantage. Okay. And just we can make a R&D about those remaining tags. Okay. Those tags, the remaining tags are not that much important for interviews. And let's discuss the next category of tags, formatting tags. Okay. Formatting tags will be imported into the JSP page using the taglib directive. The URI will be for formatting tags. Okay, and prefix in general we use as FMT. In general, we use FMT as a prefix for formatting tags. Okay. In general, we use FMT as a prefix for formatting tags. Okay, so now formatting tags are used to format some content, like conversion of date to a string, string to a date. Okay, like that. Okay, that is a kind of formatting. Like let's consider like there is a date object, and we should convert that into a format which is understood by Indians. Then the Indians for India, the date will be in month in general, but for US date will be for US the date will be MMDD YYY, but for Indians it will be DD date month and year. How we can format is date object as per a specific country. Okay, we use date formatters in Java. The same date formatters can be easily implemented in JSTL using formatting tags. Okay, date format in Java we have several formatters: date formatters, number formatters, currency formatters. Already we have discussed them. in internationalization. Okay? The purpose of formatting tags in JSTL is to achieve internationalization on the JSP page. Okay? The purpose of formatting tags is to achieve internationalization on the JSP page. The main purpose of formatting tags is to achieve internationalization on the JSP page. This power cuts. Okay. Let's stop this at this point of time. Otherwise, the video will be broken.